Sunday, March 30th. Welcome to Two Guys, One Cup, an AFL adjacent podcast. My name is Will Anderson.
And my name is Charlie Clausen. And Will, you sound calm or calmer. What's going on?
Well, if my life, Charlie, as is the want of modern day attention economy, if I had a social media team behind me in the way that AFL clubs need to have a social media team that's constantly coming up with content, what they would have captured on the body cam that they have on me at all times was me coming to life and becoming the Chris Fagan that we imagine, spilling documents and sandwiches, half-eaten sandwiches out of his briefcase as I tried to plug cords in for this podcast, tripped over things, I was trying to eat some food because I've just finished the show, so I was trying to eat with one hand and then I got like my sticky hand all over the cords that I was meant to be, and I was like, oh.
I was getting, because we had a set time to record, and then I got two messages from Will, one saying I'm running a bit late, and then another one saying I'm still coming, I'm just trying to find a cord. And I could just tell from the text and the spacing of the text that things weren't going well.
It's fine. It was just, it's just such a hilarious complaint, which is what one sentence can ruin your day, the much laid planned, which is buses replace trains.
Oh, fuck the worst.
So I was doing a show in the city and all I had to do was get on the train and come straight home and I was going to be fine. But instead I had to walk because I am not getting on a bus.
Hey, it worked for Hilltop Hoods. They wrote their rhymes on a bus and look where they are now.
It's a good point, actually. I just don't know the buses. I couldn't trust them in a situation whereby I knew if I ran 10 minutes late for the podcast, I could walk in that time. I just thought my best option wasn't to fuck around with I'm not Keanu Reeves. I can't just jump on a bus and, assume that it's going to go immediately where I need it to go at the speed that I need it to go at. That's not the lifestyle that I'm leading. I know that the train line goes by my house. So it's very reliable. I know if I get on the train, all trains stop at the train place that's near where I live. That to me is that's all I know. I don't need to know more than that.
I'm more fascinated by the fact that you completely misunderstood the conceit of speed. He didn't need the bus to stop exactly where he needed to go. He wanted it to keep going. He wanted the bus to speed up, literally.
I mean, look, I was fuzzy on some of the details. I do understand, but I knew it was bus related.
This would be the show where we expose you've never actually seen the movie Speed.
I mean, if you ask me, it's probably been 20 years since I saw the movie Speed.
Oh, really?
If you ask me to say, what is the plot of the movie Speed, I'd be like, there's a bomb on a bus.
Yeah.
And
it can't slow down.
Can't slow down or you'll blow up the bus.
Yeah.
Why?
Why can't the bus slow down? Why does he want to blow up the bus?
Yeah. Why?
Because
why
he has it in for Jack Travers, Keanu Reeves. Because he foiled him in a bank robbery or something years before. So he's been...
This is targeted.
That's why he calls him, says, pop quiz, hot shot. Remember me, you motherfucker? You foiled me in my bank robbery or something. And I got a gimpy hand now.
Do you reckon that's what Sam Mitchell's going to be like to Alistair Clarkson?
Well, I was wondering how we're going to get this back to football.
I was trying my best.
Oh, my God. The fucking Hawks, man. I watched.
Well, you know what?
Game.
They had a lot of speed.
They've got everything, though. This is the thing that is I know there was a lot of scuttlebutt, at least amongst my friends and people I chat to who are footy fans, last year was a flash in the pan. Surely it can't happen. Lightning can't strike twice. And then
no. Now it feels like last year we were lucky.
Yeah,
we were lucky that it didn't come last year. We're going to have to put up with it this year.
It's just amazing, though, isn't it? Because I was thinking about watching that. Because the thing about them too is they don't all necessarily look like footballers. They've got a bunch of weirdos in that team. A lot of them are quite short. The Wizard is unnervingly short. I can't work out if he's a little person who's big or a normal sized person who's a bit little. He's kind of this in between size. But they've got a few of those looking dudes. And then they've got Ned Reeves, who's a big Frankenstein monsters looking thing. And
I'm interested. Like, if we looked at a documentary of Sam Mitchell, is there a chance that, as well as, like, you know, he's like obviously looked at a lot of coaching books, he's done, like, you know, manuals on the physiology and psychology of players, but maybe he's also looked at, like, Joseph Campbell and storytelling, and, you know,
Right.
he's studied at the
works
like
of
the feet of,
J.R.R.
like,
Tolkien.
Tolkien, right? And
Yes.
then he understands that if you are going on a quest, that you can't just rely on it all being
Yeah. You
players
can't
of a
have
certain type,
18
right?
Aragons. You need a couple of
No,
hobbits. You need a troll, a
exactly,
dwarf.
right? Just need one guy to be like, and my axe. You don't
Yeah.
need a team of axe people.
That's right. That's right. They are so, like, they have everything, right? They've got skill, they've speed, they've
Yeah,
got that sort of mercurial factor. Like, they've got guys like the Wizard and stuff who can just,
yeah,
you know, when you need a game breaking moment, or someone
yeah,
who loves the spotlight, I'll just step up and I'll take that
yeah.
kick.
Big
And
game
then they've
players.
got the brotherhood, the bonding, the fucking complicated Fortnite emotings after goals and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking about them though, and I was thinking, like, in the last 5 years, because remember last year, hang on. Will, do you remember
Oh,
the start of last
oh,
year when we all thought, like, we're
yeah.
not going to win a game? They're no
Hawthorn,
good. Bottom
no
4,
good.
the Hawks.
Tanking.
But then I review the last 4 years, and you look at not only their draft picks, which they've all nailed, but also the trades they've all nailed. The players that they've brought in, the recycled players they've brought in, the guys on second or third chances, and they've remade them into, like, great players. It's all working. The only thing that I think the rest of the league can hold up their hearts is that, has any team ever started like a house on fire and carried that form right through to the grand final? Like
Oh,
Essendon in
probably Hawthorn sometime.
their last three peat.
I agree with you. The only thing that at the moment makes me think, because I saw a news report say flag favourites Hawthorn, and I was like, I steady on. And then I just
Yeah,
thought
he's
about
up.
it, and I was like, yeah, maybe, right? Like, at the moment, they probably are amongst the conversation, but I don't think it's bad for the rest of us.
No.
I think at the moment, the only thing we can do is lean in and go, yeah, no, they're great, actually, Hawthorn. They probably actually should win the premiership this year.
I don't think that works for them. That would work for any other team.
I
St
know.
Kilda, Bulldogs,
Any other team
Negan.
that'll get in our head.
Yeah,
And then with the Hawks, they're like,
makes them
yeah,
stronger.
that's what
Yeah.
we've been saying. That's exactly what we've been saying.
I mean, the only other team at the moment that looks as good is Adelaide. But if you apply my same superstition to Adelaide, which is they're starting so well, and I think they've scored over 100 points each game. And I think that the Kangaroos has given them their closest margin so far in terms of a victory, but they still cruised in for that win. Can they sustain that? Is
I
it going
mean,
to
they look,
be the Battle of the
who
Birds?
knows? I mean, who knows? But they look pretty good at the moment, don't
They
they?
really good.
Adelaide.
Yeah.
I underrated them going into the
Yes.
season based on what we've seen so far. I
I
didn't
also
think that
think there
was.
was a bit of I think there was a bit of Schadenfreude. People wanted them to kind of pay a bit of a price for how they treated, like, Eddie Betts after 2017 and that collective minds camp. I think they had to do a bit of time. They were in footy jail for a while, and I think people were like, while they were going through the rebuild, I think people were very dismissive of them, and so they have plied this trade off Broadway a little bit, because I don't think they've made the finals. They should have made finals in 2023, right? But then that Ben Keys goal against Sydney was denied. So I think they probably have been good. We just haven't realised.
Now, because they're from the Adelaide Hills, the Adelaide Crows, like,
Yeah.
this the state of Adelaide, the wine region.
Mm.
Would you say it was Chardonnay and Freud? Sorry,
No, I wouldn't.
that's just been sitting in my mind for the last 5 minutes while you talked about football, and I couldn't concentrate on anything you were talking about because I wanted to say Chardonnay and Freud.
What do you think about them having? Is it because you think of the home ground advantage having the Adelaide Oval, but then they also have to travel half the games. Is it
Yeah, but
better to have?
they have to travel what, 45 minutes to Melbourne, and then they get the best way to travel to Perth because they're already a little bit over that way, right?
Okay. I hadn't thought of that. And so, of all the kind of non-Victorian interstate teams, that's the best position to be in.
I mean, Adelaide is basically just another Geelong. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's a city that like people are like, you can really enjoy the city. Like, if you're an Adelaide footballer, you can have a great lifestyle in a really beautiful city that you have like absolute access to. Like,
Yeah.
it has so
Parking's
much
cheap.
stuff on. Like I mean, I go to Adelaide every year for those fringe festivals, and like you go to Writers Festival and WOMAD and like blah blah blah. Like, you're lacking for nothing. Football's massive there. You play at this incredible stadium. You don't have to live, I imagine, too far away from, but you can probably have like a house up in the hills as well if you want to do that or whatever you want to do. You can set up your life for good by
Go
just like
surfing on the weekends if you want. Drive down Port Lincoln or something.
Yeah, like, mate, it's Geelong with more arts festivals. Geelong without a Cotton On deal. But I assume Adelaide have their own version of like Cotton On deals.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it'd be like, well, Camry, I guess, wouldn't it be? Who are the other major sponsors? Hague's
I don't
Chocolate.
know. Yes, that's right. The Hague's Chocolate
Farmers
Adelaide
Union.
Crows.
So you could fucking like a lifetime supply of Farmers Union iced coffee. There's been some talk last week about the Bulldogs keeping the Footscray, or going back to the Footscray moniker.
Footscray.
I suggest,
yes,
if they do go back to Footscray, they should change the mascots. While Bevo is coach, if they go back to Footscray, they should change the mascot from the Bulldogs to the Footscray Elephants. And you know why? Because Bevo never forgets.
Bevo, can we move on? Can you and I move on so that we're not best friends, clearly, but can we have a professional relationship so I can come to your press conferences and report on the Western Bulldogs?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know I tried to kick you out of that one, but I think that the important thing that as far as moving on goes is, like, you were, for me at the time, you were the antagonist, you know, because I hadn't done anything other than at that press conference, obviously fire up.
Yeah.
So letting you off for what led into that, you know, time heals all wounds, but we've still got that time in the future. It's not now. I don't think I've seen you since it.
No, and that's been deliberate from my end as well.
That is possibly the most awkward 30 seconds of television I've seen all year. And I've been trying to wrap my head around, like, why they decided. I mean, obviously Tom Morris is going to be on this panel, but they could have just gone ahead and done a regular footy interview and not brought up this thing that most of us, I think, had kind of moved on from. Like, I don't know why Tom Morris would want to bring this up, because it also brings up everything else from his past as well, because that was all around the same time.
Well, I think that Tom Morris, and look, you know, I know that there are many people who have very firm opinions about Tom Morris, and I understand why. But I've listened to a whole bunch of his stuff since then, and I think he feels like one of those people that, you know, when we ask of people to go away and learn from their mistakes, he feels like someone who, he always brings it up. He'll front foot it. Like, he talks about it in the way we ask people to talk about these things, which is to admit that you actually did something wrong, and then say that I still admit that I was wrong. You don't diminish it. And sometimes I hear him being talked to by other people who are trying to diminish it, and he has held firm in that. I think maybe in this regard, he's taken that attitude into this like thing where maybe it isn't a like for like situation, right? Where you're like, I think this is a in media thing that no one else would have really worried about. Like, if they could have just, you don't need to know what the nature of the relationships between people are who are on air. But I think that there would have been producers involved in that show who would have been like, this is great, this is our social clip. And of course it was.
Yes.
So
they couldn't
would have
really
absolutely
lose, could they?
No, that's right.
Right.
But Bevo, here's what I'll say to the Footscray comms is that they've done a great job, because Bevo doesn't like to do the press, and they have got him everywhere this year. And I know it's a contract year, but I also think it's more than that. It feels like he's not just out there, Like, you know, he's explaining what he's doing, and I think he's communicating in a better way. He feels like he's in a better place. He's coaching really well, and I think he's explaining what it is that he wants to do. So I like it. I like him being out there, and I loved that moment.
Yes.
I didn't find that awkward at all. I was like, oh, Bevo's back. That's him. That's who we want. It's that Bevo. Let Bevo be Bevo. This is his let Bartlett be Bartlett moment, right? Like,
you
don't want him to forget.
You're cooked when someone says time heals all wounds, but
Yeah, but we got more time.
Yeah.
There's plenty more time, mate. Heaps more time. That's what I'm saying.
How did you feel about that victory over the Blues on Friday?
Well, we played not very well in the first half.
Mm.
I thought we were trying, but we weren't playing very well. And that was kind of, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, this is a bit more like it.
Did any part of you go like, because of the Blues history this year, it doesn't matter if they get like a few goals up, we can run them down? Or were you thinking,
because I don't know what's going on with the Bulldogs yet.
Right,
like,
okay.
there's some players playing really well, but we've got some players out, but also there's some players in the team who are like, you know, as always, like with most teams, right? There's players who are in and out of form, but there's definitely a few of our key people who are scratching around a little bit at the moment. And so I wasn't supremely confident about it, but I watched so I had 2 shows on Friday night. I had my show early, and then I went back home and I watched the first half of the match. And I was like, oh,
right, the worst part.
I was like, I'll watch the second half after my second show. And so I did, which obviously it was a much more pleasant experience. I thought that obviously once we started like getting a bit of a roll on, I was like, oh yeah, I reckon Carlton could absolutely, it could, you know, like, I mean, obviously you're like, okay, we might be a sniff here because it's Carlton. And it turns out that was what happened.
I mean, it's sort of at the point now where, like, okay, so this is where Carlton are at. I think the Richmond thing you could have put down to a round 1 aberration. Yeah. They played well in patches against Hawthorn, but, you know, they're Hawthorn. So you kind of was no clearer on where the Blues are at. And then they come up against a depleted Bulldog side, who I think you could argue, depleted or not, they're around the same mark going into the game. I would have thought that I would have put the Bulldogs and the Blues in the same category in terms of what they could achieve this year.
I think coming into the season, the 2 teams would have had similar aspirations that if they get a good run,
yes,
that they will, you know,
finish top 4.
Yeah, or
at least
around that sort of, you
know. And it's not that. And as you know, big fan of Blue Broad. I had to jump on straight away.
Of course.
Terry, who hosts Blue Broad, by the way, he messaged us during the week. Obviously, he was tipped off.
Hello, Terry.
He left a voicemail, and I was a bit
were you
nervous.
Worried?
Yes.
Because as I said to you when you said there'd been a voicemail, I said, look, I would think it had been complimentary because everything you've said about the show made me want to watch the show and nothing other than that. So
I texted you before. I texted you before I'd actually listened to it because I saw it was there, and I was like, oh. And I got worried because I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I mean, you know, I don't want to be taken the right way.
You just never know.
Yeah. Never know. But he was very thankful for the exposure. So, Terry, strap yourselves. But I actually...
some
more exposure.
Luke Sayers style exposure.
Well, look, the journey I'm going on listening to Blue Broad is this realization that there is a generation of Carlton supporters who have more in common with rusted on Saint supporters than any other supporter group, because all they know is rebuilds, bottoming out, crushing disappointment. Like, I have more in common with Terry than I do with Carlton supporters my age.
This is why I love what you've brought to the table with this conversation so much, is it's made me completely reevaluate. You know how often in life you talk about that idea of, I want to keep up with modern music or what younger people are into. And then I realized that so many of my opinions around football, the prejudices that I carry with me, like if you look at Carlton versus the Western Bulldogs in the lifetime of someone who was 30 years old, my club is a much more, like, we've been in the finals so many times and played in 2 grand finals and won a
finished
premiership.
last.
Like in that lifetime, you're like, oh, the Bulldogs are a super successful club compared to Carlton. It's just that we grew up in a different era, but it's not. You know
It
what I
doesn't
mean?
make any sense. Even you saying that, I'm like, what are you talking about? That's nonsense.
But like demonstrably much
Yeah.
more successful.
Yeah.
Like if that was the only experience you had of those two teams existing, right? None of the history at all, just that, you'd be like, well, one is like the really successful version, and one is their loser friend that we can't understand why like everyone keeps inviting them.
Well, Terry came up with this analogy because the general vibe amongst all the callers and Terry himself was like, they just were waiting for this to happen. They never felt like, even when they were 21 points up, they're like, when is it going to happen? When's the shoe going to drop? And then Terry hit us with this gem of an analogy.
It's like, it's soulless.
Soulless. That is the best way to fucking put it, Terry. We are soulless right now.
There's no essence. Like it ignites. You activate Charlie. He's the spirit. Like it's there, and then it just dries up. It's like you put toast in a toaster. You think, yeah, put it a little bit more, and then it's fucking burnt.
Yep.
And then it stinks. And then you try and like put butter over it because you're like, you know what? I'll just put a lot of butter. It might like cover up how burnt this toast is, and it's fucking burnt toast.
It's cooked. It's done. It's fucking black. Fucking
and then you're like, you know what? Maybe some avocado, maybe some Nutella, a bit of sweet on it, and it's still burnt, and it just like
the worst.
This, like disgusting taste in your mouth.
Oh, that's great.
I've never identified with anyone more in my life. My two favorite things, football and toast.
Yeah, toast-based football analogies.
But then he had another guy on who I believe works at SCN. He calls him Paulo. So I'm not sure who this gentleman is, but I just want to play just the end of this. Listen to the laugh at the end. If this was like a Joker origin film, I feel like this is where the Joker finally cracked.
Okay.
Everything is not good enough. The messaging, the vision, the players, the coaches, the board. You heard stories during the board that from people on the board who said after the Richmond game, all we needed to do was try harder.
Like, how's that laugh? I'll cue it up again.
Everything is not good to do was try harder.
Oh yeah,
that
it's
dude's
like
about to
that
paint
thing
his
that-
face white.
It like plays over the end credits of the previous film, setting up the character for the next film. Is that laugh? Like, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so that's where they're at.
do. You know what? And I do feel bad for them. And watching that game, particularly for Cripps, who is just like, watching him do what he's having to do at the moment makes me appreciate his Brownlow year last year more than because he just is in the trenches, earning it like week after week. He of all people who is the one who should be able to go, oh, for fuck's sake, can somebody else do something?
Yeah,
like DeConing's playing well. There's a few other guys who are playing well. Like I mean, they weren't terrible.
But this is the weird thing about Carlton, though, is that they have all these individuals. They've got two separate Coleman medalists. They've got a dual Brownlow medalist. They've got all Australian fullback, and they've got the best young ruckman going around. It's just it drops off significantly after that. Which I mean, I recall in St Kilda's kind of 09-10 period, we had like 7, like Goddard, Revolt, Lenny Hayes, Del Santo. We had like 6 or 7 stars and then a bunch of role players. But I guess the drop off between our A graders and our B and C graders wasn't as steep.
Well, also Ross had that attitude. If you had that many people, you would just like give it to them. They're the good ones.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Vossi, his ethos is too team oriented.
Yeah.
Maybe he just needs to go, look, we've had a look at the tape and there's 6 of you who are any good.
Yeah.
And out of them,
we've had a look at the tape.
And out of them, 3 of them are Patrick Cripps.
Yeah.
So
I mean that is how like Dennis Pagan coach, right? That's Pagan's take. Is just clear out of the 50.
Get out of the way of the good players and give it to them.
And there's even talk that that's how Sam Darcy should be coached, right? Like because he can do so much. He's such a freak in the air and he's so mobile on the ground. It's like
I will say that like
Bevo should start building
the game
I agree
around. We need
Yeah.
something though, because when he is playing against someone like a Wiedering, they are just going to bash him all night long, which is fine. Of course, that's what they're going to do. And Wiedering is a extremely good player. But I was rapt at how well Das kept fighting his way back into the game, like at the end, and a lot of I think there was times on the ground where you're like, oh, I think this turnaround is coming from Sam Darcy, even though he hasn't had like the easiest of nights. Like he's the one who's like generating a lot of this.
When did the Bulldogs really is it in the last 10 or 15 years that you guys really just fucking nailed the father sons? Like it feels you've had a few that have been excellent, and it's unfair, massively unfair.
I mean, we've had a good run with it.
You have, though, but it's only recent,
yeah.
right? In the last 10 to 12?
Yeah. Although I guess Das was a father-son, right?
Yeah.
So Das is a grandfather son. Yeah.
You should get 8 points for every time the grandfather son plays in a game. For pure lineage. The Silvanis, the Dacos. Oh no, did Peter Dacos' dad play? The Silvanis did. Sauce and his dad.
But it's also that thing of how much can you encourage the next generation to, what is the incentive? Is it something that, could you convince a group of people to, embark upon, how long has it been since Carlton won a premiership?
95.
Okay, 1995, which is 30 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in 30 years, if a generation of your players, your best players, got together into a breeding program, right? That's a period of time in which you could better achieve premiership success than they have been able to through the draft and anything else like that.
Right.
So
I mean, they've got the resources.
Right? That's what I mean. If you just say, we're going to invest in you and your family, we're going to pay you this now, but what we're actually going to do is give you a job on the books for the next 20 years as part of our breeding program as we raise your child to be the next Carlton champion.
Yeah.
That would still be, they haven't tried that yet. What about that?
I mean, they should. It sounds like they're going to be in a rebuild real soon.
Yeah.
Do you feel for Michael Voss? I feel a little bit for Michael Voss.
I like Vossi. So
Same.
I feel for Carlton. I feel for Michael Voss. I feel for Carlton fans. I'm glad that their streak did not end with us. That obviously, but I was not unhappy that they were playing. I would prefer Carlton to be a good team than not be a good team. But I was glad they were not a good team against us.
Well, I actually feel like we never really got the chance to sort of see Carlton fans have sustained success. We got sort of that prelim year. But I'll be curious, now that we know what we know about this new generation, what will be the dominant attitude of Carlton fans if they have a good, 10-year period of playing finals and stuff? Will it be, hey, you know what? We are adopting that old school arrogance? Will it be, oh, we're going to be humble because we know how hard it was to get here, that sort of Bloods culture kind of thing? Or will it be nouveau riche, new money, fuck this shit, I'm going to be more obnoxious than anyone because I never know how long this is going to last. I'm going to be an absolute asshole.
I'd be interesting to see. I don't think you can know if you're not one of the fans. We can sort of speculate on what we think it might be, but I think the thing that I've noticed over the years is how intrinsic there is, it almost infects the entire fan base, is that I know it through the Bulldogs lens, which is it gave us no confidence at all. We got nothing in terms of overall changing of the way that we viewed ourselves or the way that we supported our team. I mean, there's a relaxed sort of, oh, it happened, but no kind of lasting stamp in the way that, but there are other supporter bases who, Hawthorn didn't change much of who they were through the brief 18 months that they were not very good.
Yeah. The D's also look like they're struggling this year, which is, they were probably another team I would have put in that Bulldogs Blues bracket, as I could sort of see them finishing around the mark. Now, you said you squashed your beef with them.
Yeah.
But I had a listener, Matthew, write in, and he wanted to say that in a recent episode, Will was talking about, hey, the reason I'm so angry is hurt people regarding the Bulldogs losing to the D's in 2021 grand final loss. And he said his enjoyment in their performing poorly was linked to that event. Yet, I have a distinct memory of the 2018 finals episode where the Demons got destroyed by West Coast at home. And Will had such joy in his voice over such an abysmal performance. I tried to get onto the Two Guys One Cup podcast website to stream said episode and take a clip, but predictably it didn't work. Now, I recall, I think that was...
I know, that was a kind of pre-existing class thing, a bit of Russell Howcroft banter. It was kind of more a fun, just footy banter style thing that didn't have a lot behind it, but was crystallized by Melbourne's success over the Bulldogs in the 2021 grand final, and then became a full-blown sort of, yes, there was something real to it. But I had squashed the beef so much, Charlie, that I had agreed to our friend Broden Kelly from the Footy with Broden Kelly's request to be a guest at a Melbourne Football Club function at the MCG pre-game between the Gold Coast. They wanted to do something that was kind of vaguely linked, I believe, to the comedy festival, that hence Broden doing it and me being a guest, but also Kate McCarthy from Triple M and
Ex-Lion and
AFL
Saint
commentary.
Kate McCarthy.
Just brilliant. And I think Kate is just an absolute jet, like so funny, so interesting, great commentator. So the whole idea was Broden would do a bit with it. One of the sponsors, they'd do a bit of a speech. You've been to these things. And then he'd bring up me, and then he'd bring up Kate, and the three of us would sort of do something together until people lost interest. And turns out that wasn't very far in. Strap in, but don't strap in too much.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't have been one of those ones where you'd wanted to have had to do the whole amount of allotted time, put it that way. So it was one of those events where it was just in like a function room.
Did anyone at any point have to shush the room? I've been to plenty of those footy functions where the MC or a table closer to the stage will turn around and be like, "Hey, shut up, bit of shush," because people don't listen.
Well, because people just wouldn't listen to the people who were speaking, and they would just talk loudly rather than pay any attention. Is that what you're saying might happen? And then you're saying in this scenario, then other people might turn around and shush those people.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's the bit of it that I don't recognise. I recognise the first bit of it, but I don't recognise that second bit where anyone shushes. I have no allies at all. So what happened was everyone at the Melbourne Football Club, I will say, was very lovely and great, and none of this is on them. It was one of those things where there was a long room. The stage was set up at one end, and there was no attempt at the start to move any of the people who were in the room into the front half of the room. So basically what there was a large gap of people like for half the room.
It was Pagan's paddock. They cleared out the forward 50 so you guys would have it to yourselves.
They did
now
indeed,
be funny.
Which was great for Wayne Carey, but not so great for us. And then unfortunately also up the back, I don't think that anybody in the room started talking who was in there when the show started. At the start, I got a few laughs away. When Kate came up, it seemed to be that they started to talk more. And at the time, I was taking that a bit personally. I was like, "Are you being rude?" Because now Kate's talking. But I think in retrospect, I think what was happening was people were coming in the back of the room at that point who did not know there were people down the other end doing something. And so they were just coming in, talking and continuing to talk and not even acknowledging that there was something going on.
And you guys were doing your famous "Who's on first" routine, weren't you?
It's fair to say it felt pretty there was no attempt to shush the a large amount of people who were just talking loudly in competition to us talking. The only thing that had made the whole thing better, Charlie, was that immediately before I got on stage, the sound guy had handed me the microphone and disarmed me quite a lot by just saying, I'd just like to say I'm a really huge fan. And you could tell, sometimes when you're like, Like whatever he has to say is like something important to him, you know?
Mm.
So he's like, you know, I just really love that documentary you made. And I'm like, documentary? I'm like, I mean, Taskmaster wasn't a documentary, you know? Like, and he said about tennis and going to Wimbledon. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's fucking Adam Mills. Like,
What?
like,
Well,
and so like, but what do you do in that circumstance where literally I'm about to go on stage? Like, what would you do in that? What would you do in that
I
circumstance?
would just pretend I'm Adam Hills and say thank
Yeah,
you.
totally. That's exactly what I do.
Keep watching Spicks and Specs, which
Yeah,
is still being made, is it? I don't know.
yeah.
I'd also say that.
I
What's
say
that
what I
show that
always.
I'm on?
I say what I always say in that situation. If it ever comes up, I lean in and whisper. I go, "But I've actually got 2 legs." I said, "It's a con."
The whole thing's a con. You and Adam should start a podcast because you're basically twins. You're actually like the Mackay twins, who it feels
yeah.
like
Yeah,
have been treading on 2 guys, 1 toe. 2 guys, 1 cup.
two guys, 1 toe.
Also,
It's like
also
two guys,
the name of
two
Adam Hills
guys,
podcast.
two guys, 1 toe. Oh my god!
2 guys, one of them has 1 toe. Anyway, here's a clip from whatever their show's called.
I was just wondering what it is exactly that you take to the games with you. I see everyone walking with backpacks and bags, and I was just wondering what is in yours.
Good
Go
question.
Baggers!
At Essendon, we have to bring our own socks.
This is
That's,
Ben talking.
Really?
Yeah.
Obviously,
I remember last year, because at North, we had our socks provided.
Yeah.
So the first 5 weeks of the year, I always forgot, and I had to ask the poor property guy, sorry, mate, I've left my socks at home again. Boots, normally 2 pairs of boots. I normally clean my boots the night before. I've started bringing a massage gun, like a little golf ball, just to put it under your feet for a little massage on your feet. Obviously, a change of clothes and everything you need post game.
Always been a bit of food,
How's Ben
and stuff.
talking now?
We actually have our boots. Johnny, our property guy, we all put our boots the day before a captain's run, and he brings them to the game and puts them in your locker and stuff. So you really don't have to bring too much.
What about socks? Are you a sock club or a non-sock
yeah,
club?
no, they provide. We get our socks provided.
So Essendon is a bit of an outlier here.
Why? That's so strange. You have to bring your own sock.
I mean,
Now, it's only
this
taken us
podcast,
10 years
10
to
years.
answer this question.
This podcast was started really to answer one question, which was, do AFL players have to wash their own socks?
And
Well,
it turns out it just depends on the club.
There is no answer. There is, like this podcast itself,
Yeah.
there is no direct answer.
It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
We know the answer. Now we've forgotten
Yeah.
the question. What was
Yeah,
the
that's
question?
right. Or why we cared.
But I think that the lingering question, and
Yes.
anyone listening, if they can illuminate this, is for clubs that wash the socks for the players.
Yes.
How do you
Are
then,
they redistributing
Yes.
the socks
do,
to the
do they have their
particular
names
players?
on them?
Or are they just sizes, or are they all similar sizes? Is there ever a time where somebody has tiny little feet and somebody has very
Yeah.
big feet?
Is
and they need
Caleb
different
Daniel
size
getting
socks?
Christian Cherry's socks? Like,
At Christmas to hang on his near his fireplace for his Santa sack. Like, what else to go camping in and sleep in as a sleeping bag?
speaking of Ben, the Bombers got their first win against Port. Port looked very. I mean, it's a terrible game. That was actually one
It's
of the
going to
ones
be
I
tough for them to win the premiership, as predicted by me.
I sat down to watch that one as the one game this weekend besides the Saints, and I watched the full game of, and I was like, oh, this sucks. It was so boring. But I was thinking about Ken Hinckley and the position he's in right now. You've seen that movie Office Space, where the guy, he hates his job so much, he goes and sees a hypnotist, and the hypnotist dies halfway through the session. So all he gets from the hypnotist is, you don't give a shit. You're in a happy place. And so then he goes into work and he just starts not giving a shit. And because he's not giving a shit, he starts doing really well at his job, and he starts failing upwards, essentially. And I was thinking about Ken, it's he knows the end is coming. What if just fucking do something radically different? He's going to be out. So why not?
Costanza,
Francis
opposite, sort of just completely
Yeah.
opposite of everything you should be doing.
Opposites. Just play people out of position, try new things, stack a bunch of people in the back line from after the 6-6-6 and the ball goes up, then everyone just runs back, then they run forward like British Bulldogs. Because what if he uncovers something that has never been discovered, like the new Clarko's cluster or Pagan's paddock or whatever? I mean, then you can sort of retire happy, right? You've innovated the game in your last year.
I love it.
What if he gets
I
the
love
three
it.
smallest players just to sort of like run around choo-choo train, holding each other by the hips and run around in circles?
I love it. Like, but a different one every week.
Yeah.
Just tries, like, just because you know what? If he tries 30 things,
Yeah.
chances are one of them might work, right?
Yeah. One game,
Yeah.
Hinkley should go out and sing Never Tear Us Apart himself. He should go in a leather jacket,
Like,
single
exactly.
spotlight in the middle of Adelaide Oval, and just sing it himself.
He should.
Never tear us apart.
He should go out with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And find the captain of the opposing club, stare him directly in the eye, and sing Never Tear Us Apart. Like, just sing it directly to them.
That could become like their haka.
Yeah.
Their like way to intimidate the opposition. Like if that, okay, so just say he does that and they win.
Yeah.
And then he does it every week.
Yeah.
Does Josh Carr adopt it the next year? Because it's like, this is the winning formula. This is what won you the flag in 2025. You can't just chuck it out because, new coach, new ideas. You got to do it.
I mean, I think it is time. It is that, I mean, I remember when Lima and I were doing the show on Triple M and they told us that the show wasn't getting renewed, but we were on air for another 6 weeks. And it was 6 of the most creative weeks I've ever done on any other job because you just had all these resources, no one to tell you no, and you're just like, whatever idea you thought was like a funny idea, you just did it. And it was so much fun. Never had more fun doing like a job in the media that I had in those 6 weeks of just being able to go in and do that. Is there a world in which Ken Hinkley could just coach like that?
Yes.
Like, could he coach Brewster's Millions style, where he just needs, you know what I mean? Like, every idea must go.
Yeah, 100%. Like nothing, and get like innovative, not just on the field, but in the boardroom, how the clubs run, like top to bottom, just
everything.
Ken ideas, Kenergy, bring some big
Kenergy,
big Kenergy, big Kenergy.
Yes. Big Dick Kenergy. That's what he rebrands it. The poor power are going to have some Big Dick Kenergy.
I did watch the Saints game as well. Funny little story. It was one of those weird time slots, like 4:30, I think, on a Saturday. Yeah. So the game happens right at dinner time for me when I have to get Iona fed. So I watched the first half at home while I was sort of just tidying up and doing some chores around the house. And then we got to half time. It's pretty tight. I think we're only up by 8 points. It's like, oh, God, it's going to be one of those kind of grinded out against a lower team that, we never seem to put a team away that we should put away. Anyway, I said to Iona, hey, let's just go across the road to the local kind of, old bowls club RSL and I'll get you a hamburger. And I said, but when Daddy gets there, do you mind if we sit in the sports part of the sports bar so I can watch the footage? She's like, yeah, totally. Of course, we walk in and she reneges immediately. She's like, no, I want to sit on these couches, on the other side of the RSL. So I could sort of faintly see the TV at the corner of my eye. I'm like, fuck. So the second half begins and I can sort of see it's hard to tell when you can only see the top fifth of the screen over a partition. I could see arms, but I'm like, who's celebrating?
Okay.
I couldn't recognize the player from the fist or whatever, but I saw a lot of celebrating. I'm like, oh, this is either really good or really bad, or it's a shootout. I don't know, but there's a lot of celebrating going on.
Okay, so it's really good or really bad, or it's a shootout.
Or it's a shootout.
So
Which is
really
also not great. I'd put that in the not a good category. You're playing a team that P ladies, you don't want to shoot out. So I ordered Iona's food, got her settled on the couch, got one of those little colouring books that you can buy at most kind of pubs or RSLs to keep your kids amused. And I ran next door and I was like, oh my God, we're just out of control. We're just piling on the goals. But I couldn't be a responsible dad. I tried to go back and negotiate with my 5-year-old and be like, hey, Saints are up. Do you want to come? It's exciting. She's like, nah. I'm like, fuck. So the only option I had left was so I had to sit on her side of the RSL and I got my phone out, but I didn't bring my fucking glasses. So I had my phone playing the game. I'm streaming it on KO. But, but it's on this fucking sort of coffee table on this couch. I can't see it. And so my food arrives. I get a steak. And so I'm sitting there with the steak on my lap and I'm leaning over my steak, and squinting because I can't see the screen. And I hear laughter and I look up and I see these two guys in the line for the bistro, and they're watching me and they're laughing because I'm like, like fucking peering at this tiny screen, like eating my steak. And so I just blamed my daughter. Like I just said, she wouldn't let me go sit over there. Like she said I could come here and watch the football, and then we got here and she changed her mind.
Oh, yeah. So you thought the way to get yourself out of being mocked
back
was to say that you couldn't make a decision over a 5-year-old girl.
She outsmarted me. She outsmarted me and outpointed me, and I'm scared of it. But gee, I had not seen the Saints do that to a team in like feels like 10 years. We never, even like when North Melbourne were at their shittest, we always like struggled against them. And it was kind of nice to see us just fucking kick 20 goals. And also, Machito Owens, I think, is quickly becoming my favorite player. Did you see his little bow he did?
Yeah.
It was so good. I didn't know what it was at first. I'm like, what's he doing? And then I was like worried, maybe like he's been copping some like racist abuse over the, and so he's standing up for his culture. But no, I saw an interview with him afterwards. He said he's just, he's proud of his Japanese heritage and wanted to bring that out into the game. And I'm like, I'm so about this kid. I love the way he plays. Like we've said before, he plays like Shazam. Like he's like a kid in this big, strong body that can do anything. And so he seems to get such a joy from just bashing people and knocking them down. And he didn't even actually play a great game in the first half, but then he just goes bananas in the second half and is just like slotting him from everywhere. I'm like, yeah, I think it's too old for me to get a number on my back. But if I did, I think it'd be the number 10.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I think there's something very special about this kid, I think, and also very St Kilda.
Well, I mean, I think if you really think he's special, you should start dressing in like a kimono.
Oh, yeah, that'll go down real well. And then he will be bowing to me in the stands for racist reasons.
Yeah, they were good. I saw a little bit of the Saints game. Not heaps of it, but I saw.
Well, you said last
it.
week, Jack Sinclair's good at football, and I've always kind of like known that. But then I really paid attention this week, and yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who knows he's better than most other players.
Yeah.
28, like in the way that he
28,
plays.
40 possessions, 28 kicks at 87% efficiency. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's really good.
Yeah.
He's really good at playing football. But the nice thing was that it felt like, I mean, I know you're playing Richmond, right?
Yes.
But it's still nice that it gave the rest of, I mean, Wanganeen Miller is like absolute gun.
I know, we have to get his signature. Like he hasn't signed on yet, and it would just be the worst if he left. I think he is close to signing, and I don't know. I haven't heard any other reason why, but
have you heard anything about him going to the Bulldogs?
No, have you?
No, but I would like to. if we're
straight swap for Jamara.
Yeah, all right. Yep. Done. I'll call Bevo.
Yeah, no inspections, no tie kickers. Just got to accept the deal, yes or no.
Straight deal right now.
Yeah.
Spit on it.
Yeah, no, he's an absolute gun. I think this is, I still reckon, there's every chance we could finish bottom 4 still. I think we're very much building, but it's nice to see we have a system, like especially when you look at Carlton and you sort of see the problems they have, and you look at Voss as a coach and Lyon as a coach. I think Voss is very much a leader and a motivator and an inspirational figure. Ross is the opposite of that. Like Ross is just baffling. He's quirky and eccentric and baffling, but he's clearly smart when it comes to football and tactics. And what he's been doing with this team in terms of getting them defensively minded, but then also being two-way runners. Like, yes, we've been kicking low scores, but eventually he was going to add the attacking component to our game. We just needed to get games into our younger players and have a forward line or a semblance of a forward line.
I am interested in St Kilda. Tell me about Rowan Marshall.
Oh yeah, he's a gun. He's a rookie.
So has he always been a gun, or was there a period where he was really good at the start and then kind of went off the boil for a while and then has come back good? Like, what's his trajectory as like his career?
So he was.
I remember him being really good early, and then
he was a mature age rookie from South Australia who came. I think we got him at 23 or something, 22, 23. and he had to play about 2 years of reserve. So he didn't really sort of debut like most big men until he's kind of early mid-20s. And he originally played as a forward, but then he and Paddy Ryder, when he first came to prominence,
that's right.
he was an understudy to Paddy Ryder. Yes. And so they were a really good duo because you had Paddy, who was the tap ruckman, and then Rowan, who's more like a Dean Cox mobile extra midfielder ruckman. Then in his first year going solo after Paddy retired, he had injuries. He kind of struggled a bit with the solo ruck position. Then last year he was close to our best player. In fact, most people thought he would have won our best and fairest and polled higher in the Brownlow. And then he came into this year with an injury cloud, but then his last 2 games have been insane. I think for a lot of ruckmen like Cherry, Marshall, English, the problem is they're living in an era of Max Gawn, and he casts such an enormous shadow. It's like, being Scottie Pippen in the era of Michael Jordan. Like, one of these guys eventually will, Darcy Cameron will be the new number 1 ruckman, but it's sort of, or TDK, there's heaps.
I mean, TDK looks very good at the moment.
Yeah, and even Nankervis, Toby Nankervis is fucking like a really good old school kind of crash and bash ruckman.
Well, Tim English could play better. I don't know what's going on with Tim English at the moment.
Is it?
I feel like
10-year anniversary of his father passing away.
I mean, maybe that is it. Have we looked into that? Because there is something going on with Tim English that we need to like.
Ross, as we know, has been feeding the chook, so to speak, when he talks to the media, referring a lot to TV shows.
Yeah.
He referred to White Lotus, and then last week you spotted this clip.
How are you on today with White Lotus? No, you know what? Sometimes you just keep yourself a little treat in store. Yeah, okay. Bit of maths last night. Maths, yeah. It's pretty full on, isn't it? I thought I had problems.
So the media obviously got into this thing because he did his press conference after the Tigers game and someone else asked him about White Lotus.
Sorry?
2 episodes left. Where's White Lotus going?
Actually, it was pretty confronting last night. Very confronting. I'm trying to adapt, but I'm looking forward to next Monday. Is it Monday it comes out?
Yeah. Yep. Monday.
Yes. Yeah. It was. And then everyone's talking about adolescence, so I've got to dive in there now too.
Can you see the delight on his face that the media have taken the bait, and he knows that at least 30 to 45 seconds of his press conferences are going to be taken up with this shit, and if he wants to expand on it, he'll open with, "Did you guys see White Lotus on Monday? Oh, gee whiz. That's a bit touchy."
It is, he is so good at what he is doing, right? Like, because it's clear that he's like, okay, great, this one's hooked him in. I can just, and this is great. Like every week,
make a compilation on 360.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every week I will be like, because there's only certain spots they have in their compilation for each of the, coaches and clubs. And if Ross is just throwing in a bit of comedy they can use in their compilation every week, then he's going to get a starring spot.
I also love the idea too of like this taking off and happening all season. And Ross will actually have to start watching shows he'll have shit to talk about. So he's spending less time reviewing tapes and more time like on Binge and Stan, Netflix.
Well, yeah, reviewing screeners. Like I'm wondering if like I could maybe get Ross involved in watching an episode of Gruen, like just a bit of viral marketing for the ABC about the new series,
That's a good idea. Maybe he can plug this show. Maybe he can say, I was watching this on YouTube.
Oh, it's actually
Good to guys,
one cup.
Refers to it. I mean, I looked up what it referred to, and it was a bit of a shock, really. Had to throw my laptop into the ocean.
The ocean.
We had a letter from a regular listener, April, last week, wanting us to discuss the hottest players in the game. Now,
have we got some correspondence on this? Boy. Adam Spencer weighed in.
No, what did Adam Spencer say?
Adam Spencer. I made a little list. Yes,
while you're trying to find that list, I'll rush through a few of these. This is from Jezza, and he's a Freo fan. So he says hottest players in a particular order: Andy Brayshaw, who's more of your clean-cut gentleman type; Alex Pearce, who's got that hair that's Captain Jack Sparrow hair.
Yes.
Brandon Walker, The Don, elegant athleticism. I'm not familiar with Brandon Walker. Do you know who that is?
No.
All right. This came in from Brit, who's Essendon supporter. Most of these responses have come from guys. I just want to say, it's going to just let you know. But this is from Brit, and she says that the guy that we were thinking of from, because I mentioned there's a guy from Essendon, and she says I'm thinking of Archie Perkins. Sorry, she's a Lions supporter, and she said the top 3 from the Lions would be Josh Dunkley. You know a bit about Josh Dunkley. Do you think he's good looking?
Yeah, he's good looking for sure. Yeah.
Jared Berry, and of course Dev Robertson, who's the guy who got his shirt ripped off in that game last year, year before. Now, is he hot, or is he just like got a good rig? Because I think, that shouldn't count, because they've all got pretty good rigs, apart from
I don't know.
apart from what's his face with the shit rig. That's the one with the shit rig from Port Adelaide. Like Collingwood now.
I can't find Adam's little message, but I think his was Isaac Heaney.
Yes.
Joel Amati. And I can't remember what his third one was, but he had.
Britt also
he thought Sydney had a pretty deep bench.
They do.
Taylor Adams got thrown in the mix. I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
Britt also said from another team, Charlie Curnow is a real hottie, and I was like, yeah, fucking Charlie Curnow has a bit of that kind of the OC. You can see him in like a CW
Does he
kind of
not
American.
have like an awkward, interesting shape?
He's gangly.
Is there not? Yeah, there's
But
something
if we're talking
about
like
his
a
shape.
headshot, if you saw a headshot,
But I'm
of
like,
him,
what does he look like in casual clothes? Like, would he have a surf look, or would he have
like a puka necklace and like a jeans vest?
What does he wear? He's from the beach. I think he's from like Torquay or somewhere like that, right? Like he's.
How did Geelong not get their fucking claws into him?
Yeah, I know, right? So Charlie Curnow casual clothes. I'm going to look up, see if that brings up anything. Images casual clothes. Oh yeah, okay. Here he is. He's wearing pretty standard sort of what you would. Yeah.
What about when he's in a suit? Type in Charlie Curnow Brownlow. Does he like scrub up?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He looks okay in a suit. Yeah, he's all right. Yeah, I can say that.
James is a West Coast supporter. He says Elijah Hewitt, but I'd also like to add Dom Sheed because he kicked that goal. That doesn't count.
Oh, yeah.
We're going purely on superficial attractiveness, not players that you favour because of something they've done. This is interesting. This came in from Samuel, who says Oleg Markov is the hottest player in the AFL. Who I think he's playing Sandford these days. Now, I had to look up who he was. Let me just share my screen with you. Because these headshots he's got here are wild. Look at that. That looks like an 1800s bartender in the Old West.
Yeah, I'm absolutely 100% like.
But you know why you think he's good looking? Why I know he's good looking? Because he can get away with that ridiculous mustache.
Oh yeah, no, he's a person who's so good looking that he's had to grow that mustache so that people don't grow that mustache to bring him 10% down to get back in the conversation with other people.
Yeah. This letter came in from I just lost it. This is from Finn, who's just going to name a bunch of players from different clubs. Josh Rochelle, totally get that. He's very pretty, pillowy lips. Jai Simpkin, yeah, I see that.
Did you say pillowy lips?
Yeah, check out this photo. Do you want me to share?
Pillowy lips.
Look at this. Hang on, why is this not sharing?
Probably because you tried to share something that had pillowy lips on
it. Yeah, this picture. I found this shot of Josh Rochelle because a lot of these guys have to go look at me like, oh yeah. I mean, I think this is like a headshot from like a talent agency or something.
Oh yeah, okay. He does have pillowy lips.
See?
Yeah, you're
I'm not making that up.
No, that is absolutely the only description of those lips. They are pillowy.
Oh, ruby red is the other description I'd be willing to accept in that instance. But the one I really want to share with you is Luke Davies-Uniacke, LDU.
Oh, yeah, LDU.
So a lot of people suggested him, and I was like,
Really?
"Oh."
Okay.
And then I looked at this photo of him, which is kind of what most people think of when they think of LDU,
Okay.
right? Which is
Yeah.
straight ahead, like a Marine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No
I mean,
nonsense.
but certainly not somebody that you would consider to be conventionally attractive.
Like charismatic, he's the war hero. Handsome if he was the lead in an action movie, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think he's a leading man look like
Okay.
in that photo is
Okay.
what I'm saying. Yes.
Right. Just hold your horses. Because I did a bit of digging. And I found a photo of a young Luke Davies Uniacke. How do you say it?
Luke Davies Uniacke, I think.
Uniacke. When he was getting drafted. And this kid could be on Home and Away.
Oh boy.
Look at that. That's like a young Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. Okay.
So does it count if they were better looking when they
Yeah.
were younger?
I mean,
He should. Why doesn't he have this hair now?
Well,
He
I
could be the
think
most
that
marketable player in the AFL if he grew those long locks back.
But I also think that photo on that North Melbourne site that you put up the first time is a very unflattering photo.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I think that like there are better photos of him in modern times. I mean, like I'm looking at a photo of him right now with like a mullet. Well, when would that be? Because that's a while ago. But that's a good looking mullet. Like he's a good looking fella. Like, I mean, who is this? Is this guy 15 different guys?
Yeah.
These photos all look
Well,
completely
this is the other
different to
thing,
each
right?
other.
Like we're talking.
Is there more than one Luke Davies Jr.?
This is like a sign of a good-looking dude. Is like Johnny Depp for a while would have like different looks. He'd have his like long-haired kind of indie rocker, or he'd sort of be like a greaser look. And it's like, oh, that guy's just so handsome. He can pull off. Or Brad Pitt pulls off every look. I think LDU might be the hottest player in the AFL. I'll just run through a few more nominations, but I think I'm set on this. Dave says,
But I'm looking at a page of like pictures of him, and they all look like they could be different characters.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. He's
had
got
eras.
so many different looks.
LDU eras
tour.
Dave says Aaron Cadman, Connor Iden, or Harry Himmelberg. I think we raised a couple of those guys last week. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, and this is from Real Sam, who says, look, love the pod, long time listener, first time caller. Not sure why this seemed important enough to contact you, but the guy who you couldn't name from Essendon last week is Matt Guelphy. So we've had one person tell us
that's true.
Matt Guelphy and someone else say Archie Perkins. So clearly Essendon fans are just desperate for someone in their team to be considered.
But it was Matt Guelphy I was thinking of. So that is the correct answer.
Sam also mentions Joshua Shelley, but then says, shout out to Riley Thilthorpe, who all the older male commentators are frothing over, and it seems to arouse them in a really strange way. Yeah.
It's like the same thing the same
you
reason
work out, bro. It's that
the same reason that Yellowstone is a popular show is the same energy that he's bringing to the table. I think he's got that mountaineer, I could live in the woods, I could have a cattle ranch, I could look after myself sort of energy.
Just a little other bit of mail. This came in from Ben, who I believe is a Doggy supporter. That Collingwood game, he said, I don't want to complain about the umpires like you guys, but the free kick differential of 14 to 33 on Friday nights is incredibly suspicious, especially when the last minute a Doggy's player had his legs taken out from under him and went to ground and it wasn't called. I couldn't help but feel watching this that if it was the other way around, we would have heard a whistle. Also, I vote Bulldogs reverting back to Footscray permanently. That's all from me. In keeping with 2 guys, 1 cup sign-offs, I'd like to sign off with stand.
Oh yeah, nice. That's fun. I'm absolutely behind Let's Be Footscray again. Yeah. Yes, look, it was a tough night for the Bulldogs. It seems to be the general consensus that based on like listening to Razor Ray and other umpires talk about it, it feels like the Bulldogs were unlucky on the night. But like again, I just think that in the grand scheme of the entire season or whatever, the time in the competition, then it all just evens itself out. And we have to be kind to the umpires.
Now, something that needs addressing is our kiss of death, We have a 100% strike rate.
Good, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, good for us, but we've had some complaints. This is from Billy, who says, guys, last week I'm at the MCG. Just after 3/4 time, I felt a slight disturbance. Lo and behold, we go on to lose to a kick late. Then I listened to the pod. Disturbance in the Sunday afternoon 2 Guys 1 Cup Moz line up perfectly. Then catch me again, sitting up at the back at Marvel this week, enjoying my team. Stick with a plucky North outfit. Around halftime, I feel another disturbance. They haven't, have they? Surely not. And what happened in the last quarter? Mayhem. Podcast goes on my commute home on Monday morning, and what do I hear? Another perfectly synced Moz. I used to like Sunday afternoon football, a slot in which my beloved Demons have been banished to this season. However, I feel Will's so-called squash beef has remanifested itself as a Sunday 3:20 p.m.'s curse. What do you think? Have we?
It's hard to argue against somebody thinking that to be the case. I'm not saying that is
he's
the
not
case,
the only one.
but it's
This came in from Dom. Gentlemen, please, for the love of God, find some other club to curse. It's been 2 weeks in a row. You bring up who you're going to curse, and then you proceed to go way too early on Melbourne. On both occasions, when you called it for Melbourne, we were actually playing somewhat well. Then miraculously, we have players that can't kick set shots, and inside 50 entries all of a sudden go close to the roof of Marvel to the now forwards. Could this be due to a young side with some experienced players on the decline? Or is it all an unexplained curse from 2 football wizards that curse teams through reverse psychology, suggesting they'll win before the game is over? As a diehard D's fan, I beg you, please go back to hating Melbourne, Will. Start ragging on Oliver's mop hair, criticise Petrarca's cooking, anything, because it's definitely not an issue with aging veterans, poor development, or a bad culture. We are bad because of an unexplained illogical curse by the 2 Guys 1 Cup team with your Melbourne positivity.
I mean, imagine if that were the case.
We wielded
but
that
we
much
didn't
power.
know what it was, and as soon as we knew what it was, we weren't able to wield it anymore.
I do kind of remember, though, when we went off air last week, you were like, why did you tip Melbourne? And I was like, oh, well, because I thought it'd be funny if they lose.
We both thought it would be funny. I was doing it a bit because I was doing a function for Melbourne, but then they talked through most of it, so I don't feel as bad about it anymore.
If you want to get in touch with us, you can. Just go to everyonerelax.co. There's a little contact form. You can send it to 2 Guys 1 Cup. Or, because I know some of you want to send attachments, you can't attach through the website. So just 2 Guys 1 Cup AFL@gmail.com. And it'll come through to us. Will, you're doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival at the moment.
Oh, yeah. All my improvised shows are sold out, but if you are in other places around the country, maybe you could get a ticket to one of those ones. But I am doing a one-off performance of last year's show, We're Legitimate, at the Comedy Theatre in a couple of weeks. So there are tickets available to that.
And if you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to go to Patreon, patreon.com/everyonerelax. We put up full videos. In fact, I think I'm going to start releasing the videos into our regular free YouTube channel.
Great.
But they're going to go up 24 hours early on our Patreon. So if you're just desperate to hear us talk about footy, you'll find it a whole day earlier on the Patreon. There'll be links in the episode description. But we'll be back again next week. Play on, not 15.
Stand.
Can't take another guy's outro.
No, it was a tribute.
Okay, nice.
Little footy-loving dickheads, dreaming about a Premiership Cup. We love our clubs, but they never win. 2 flags in 100 years. A shit house. If you think we'll be insightful, clever, or just well-researched, we're here to say that's not the case. We'll just go out and wing it. We are 2 Guys 1 Cup.